Hello all, I am Deepika, working as Assistant Professor from Department of Psychology, and I am handling behavior modification paper. And so today we are going to see about basic principles of behavior modification. So under to that we are going to see two things, which is what? Reinforcement and punishment. Under reinforcement and punishment, two subheadings will be there. Types of reinforcement and the factors that influencing reinforcement, and in the other side when talking about the punishment, two things will be there. Types of punishment and the factors that influencing punishment. Okay. So now we will see what is reinforcement. So reinforcement is the process in which a behavior is strengthened by the immediate consequence that reliably follows its occurrence. So when a behavior is strengthened, it is more likely to occur again and again in the future. So reinforcement, which is what? Strengthening the behavior by some consequence. So for that the behavior will occur again and again in the future. For example, if you come early to the class, so for that behavior, I am just appreciating your behavior, or else I am just giving some 5 marks to your behavior or some 5 stars, means you will repeat that behavior again and again in the future. Am I right? So that is what? Strengthening the behavior. So reinforcement, which is mainly focusing on strengthening the behavior. Okay. So in the other case, reinforcement is also defined as follows. So which is what? The occurrence of a particular behavior which is followed by an immediate consequence, and that results in strengthening the behavior. So the person is more likely to engaging in the behavior again and again in the future. Okay. So this is what? Reinforcement. And next to that we will see about the types of reinforcement. Okay. So two types will be there. So positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Positive reinforcement means any stimulus that reinforces the behavior. So in the other side, positive reinforcement means which is what? Strengthening the behavior. Okay. So for example, if you come early to the class, so for that behavior I am just appreciating your behavior, or I am just giving 5 marks to your behavior. So which is what? I am adding some pleasant stimulus to your behavior. Am I right? So I am adding some pleasant stimulus to your behavior, that is called positive reinforcement. So here in my example, what is pleasant stimulus? I am giving some 5 marks, or appreciating means that is called as a pleasant stimulus. Okay. This is what? Positive reinforcement. Now we will see negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement occurs when a response is followed by a removal of unpleasant stimulus which increases the behavior. So negative reinforcement means it is like the removal of unpleasant stimulus. For example, if you come early to the class just to avoid your teacher scolding, or you completing the assignment on time just to avoid your mom scolding, means you are avoiding some unpleasant stimulus and you are doing some behavior, means that is called as negative reinforcement. So here in this example I am just putting a example like stopping at red signal to avoid accident. So paying the fees before the due date to avoid a fine. So here in this example, unpleasant stimulus is accident, and in this example unpleasant stimulus is fine. Okay. So this is what? Positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Okay. So now we will see the next topic in the reinforcement is about factors that influencing reinforcement. So the 4 factors that influencing reinforcement. Okay. So immediacy, establishing operations, individual difference and magnitude. So now we will see what is immediacy. Immediacy means immediately you have to give the reinforcement. Okay. So for example, if you come early to the class and for that behavior I am just giving 5 marks, means immediately have to give 5 marks. Okay. In the other side, if I am giving the reward or a reinforcement after 5 days or a 10 days, means in that case your behavior will not be strengthened. So your reinforcement will not be worked. Okay. So just to avoid this, immediately you have to give the reinforcement. Okay. That is what? Immediacy. Now the second factor, which is what? Establishing operation. Establishing operation means when you are giving the reinforcement is matter. Okay. So for example, I am using a reinforcer as a food. Okay. So I am using a reinforcer as a food and I am giving a food to you whenever you are hungry, means in that case the food will be a good reinforcer. Am I right? But in the other side, when your stomach is full, in that case I am using a food as a reinforcer, means in that case my reinforcement will not be worked. So as a result my reinforcement will be failed. Okay. So for that you have to analyze the individual and then have to give the reinforcement. Okay. That is what? Establishing operation. Now the third factor, which is what? Individual difference. Individual to individual, the reinforcement may vary. For example, for the person A, the chocolate will be a good reinforcer. Only for that particular chocolate, the person will strengthen the behavior. But for the another person, the chocolate will not be a good reinforcer. In that case, mobile phone may be a good reinforcer. So we have to analyze the individual and then we have to give the reinforcement. So that individual differences will be there. Okay. Now the fourth factor, which is what? Magnitude. Magnitude means it is like the interns or the amount of a reinforcement. Okay, at least for a particular period of time I want to give my reinforcement. Okay, for example, at least for 2 weeks or 3 weeks I want to give my reinforcement, then only the person will get motivated and then the person will work. Okay, in the other case I am just giving the reinforcement only for 2 minutes and then I want to see a behavior change, means definitely that reinforcement will not work. Okay, that is what magnitude. Okay, so the next topic in the basic principles of behavior modification, which is what? Punishment. Okay, punishment is weakening the behavior in which a person engaged in a behavior and there was an immediate consequence that made it less likely to occur in the future. Okay, so it is just opposite to reinforcement. Reinforcement means strengthening the behavior, but in the other side punishment means which is what? Weakening the behavior to occur in the future. Okay, so for example, Kathy reached over the fence to pet the dog and the dog immediately bit her. So as a result, Kathy is less likely to reach over the fence to pet the dog or other familiar dogs. Okay, so this is what? Punishment. And another example for punishment is, just take the same example. Okay, so if you come late to the class, just for that behavior I am just punishing you, means definitely in future you will not repeat that behavior, right? So that is what? Punishment. Okay, so same as like reinforcement, punishment also have some two types. Okay, that is called positive punishment and negative punishment. Okay, positive punishment means it is the punishment of a response by the addition of an unpleasant stimulus. Okay, adding some unpleasant stimulus to your behavior means that is called as a positive stimulus. Okay, for example, if you come late to the class and for that I am just putting a minus mark as 5, or I am just punishing you while by sit up, means I am adding some unpleasant stimulus to you. So that is what? Positive punishment. Okay, so here in my example, what is unpleasant stimulus? I am just putting a punishment as a sit-ups or a minus 5 mark, means then that is called as a unpleasant stimulus. Okay, so here I have put another one example like spanking the child for mischievous behavior, and spanking will decreases the behavior. Okay, so the next type, which is what? Negative punishment. Negative punishment means it is like the removal of pleasant stimulus. Okay, so the punishment of a response, that the removal of a pleasant stimulus. For example, you are doing a naughty things in the class. Okay, so for that I am just removing the mobile phone from you, or I am just removing the favorite thing from you. So I am just removing the pleasant stimulus from you. Okay, that is what? Negative punishment. Okay, so here in my example, what is a pleasant stimulus, like a removal of mobile phone or a removal of favorite thing from you, that is called as a negative punishment. Here I have put one more example. Mothers do not allow the child to watch TV because of mischievous behavior. So here the pleasant stimulus, which is what? TV. Okay, so now we'll move on to the factors that influencing punishment. Okay, as same like the reinforcement, punishment also have some factors. Okay, immediacy, establishing operations, individual differences and magnitude. Okay, so first immediacy. Immediately you have to give punishment. Okay, and the next one, which is called establishing operations. When and where you are giving the punishment is matter. Okay, so for that you have to analyze the individual and then you have to give punishment. Okay, now the third thing, which is what? Like a individual difference. So individual to individual, the punishment acceptance may vary. Okay, so for that also you have to analyze the individual and you have to give the punishment. Okay, now the fourth thing, which is what? Magnitude. Magnitude means at least for a certain period of time, or at least for a certain weeks or a month, you have to give the punishment. Okay, then only you can see the weakening of a behavior to occur. Okay, now I am going to summarize all the concepts that you have seen in the basic principles of behavior modification. Okay, so the first thing what we have seen, which is what? Reinforcement. Reinforcement means that is like the strengthening of a behavior. What I gave the example is, if you come early to the class, I am appreciating your behavior like by 5 marks, means that is called reinforcement. And under that reinforcement, two types will be there: positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Positive reinforcement means it's like a addition of pleasant stimulus to your behavior. Negative reinforcement means it is like the removal of a unpleasant stimulus. And next thing what we have seen is like punishment. Punishment means it is like the removal of a pleasant stimulus. Okay, and also two types will be there: positive punishment and negative punishment. Positive punishment means it is like addition of unpleasant stimulus, and negative punishment means it is like the removal of pleasant stimulus. And also we have seen about the factors of reinforcement and punishment. Okay, so this is about basic principles of behavior modification. Thank you.